It's Tuesday the 21st of January 2020, and you're looking at an old washstand which belonged to my grandmother in Kimberley, South Africa, and presumably my father would have been washed or bathed on it. It's made from yellow wood, and it was brought across here by my wife in the container that we sent over. And so it's the one thing probably links me to my grandmother and grandfather's and my father's family. And I've just taken off these tiles that Bev put on, which were in the back there, and I'm going to dismantle it, I hope. It's made from yellow wood, but you can see it's really seen better days, probably from all the waters and soap and whatnot being splashed onto it. And it's very wobbly on its pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm hoping to dismantle it, clean up every single piece, flatten and straighten everything, and reassemble it. So wish me luck. Okay, so I'm dismantling this old washstand, and it's still the 21st of January, and you can see the sides, these I think they're called stretchers, are joined to the legs. They've got dowels that go in, so the dowels going into this flat piece here. And the traditional way to get to dismantle things is to use heat, but you can't actually get the heat into these dowels. So and I've tried manhandling and wedging and pulling along here, and the best solution I've come up with is getting a piece of flat wood, lining it up there, and then hitting it with a rubber hammer gently back and forth and seeing if I can open it. As soon as the glue releases, it comes off. And you can see I've done quite a few of them now. The things, basically the bottom of the thing's in pieces. Well, I've now dismantled the entire washstand. You can see here are the bits and pieces, the legs and the stretchers and whatnot. And my first job, I don't know if it was the right place to start, but I've taken the top and I put it through a thicknesser, and I've trimmed the edges of each board, and so they are flush with one another, and I've glued it together. But I've actually repaired, you can see there I've put a little insert in there where there was a big break on the corner, and I'm told that you shouldn't try and disguise your repairs. This is the original and this is the repaired bit, and you shouldn't try and disguise it, because that would make it less authentic. So all of this is yellow wood, and you can see the effect of washing using water and soap and water. You can see the cracks. If you have a closer look, you can see I can almost imagine I can see soap in those cracks. So that original has to be kept, as well as all of these tack marks here where somebody's nailed something onto the surface, because the back was here. Today is Sunday, the 2nd of February 2020, and this is the next installment of the, what can I say, the restoration of the Granny Kokkinn's washstand. You can see these are the legs, and I've taken the legs down to the workshop, the community workshop, and put them on the lathe just to sand them down, just to get into these cracks and things. One of the problems is removing the dowels from these, which go into the ends of the stretchers, the sides. I think I was the one who glued them in with modern PVA, and they just don't come out easily. So I've actually had to re-drill them, and you can see they're not very precise. This is the end of one of the stretchers, but I'm busy just cleaning them up at the moment. Can you see? This is yellow wood, and it's obviously old and cracked, but that doesn't matter. Look how beautiful the grain is, and so it's going to be very pretty when it's done up. And I'm going to try not to tart it up too much. You know, there's some remnants of paint and whatnot on the thing. I'll just leave those stains where the handles were, probably copper, and when the soapy water from the washstand got on them, they corroded. So that's where I am. I'm all to pieces, cleaning up, and then I'll start, when everything's all kosher, I'll start reassembling it and try and get it all square. Well, it's Thursday the 6th of February 2020, and I'm continuing the restoration of Granny Kokkinn's washstand. What I've done now is I've set up 4 holes into 2 leveled boards so that I can use those to, when I reconstruct it, with the bits of wood going across with the dowels in them. So I've got the 4 holes measured out at the right distance apart so that each leg will sit in there and they are level. So the whole thing's been leveled up, quite a pain in the neck actually. They're all level, and even the depth of the holes is being measured to be level so that the 4 can sit, and then I can reconstruct the top with confidence that the bottom is level. As I might have mentioned, when I was dismantling Granny Kokkinn's washstand, one of the problems was getting the old dowels out of the holes, and while this one came out without much problem, most of them were stuck so fast and I couldn't get heat down, so I ended up cutting them off and then having to drill them out. Now what I've managed to do is I found some doweling which is slightly larger than these holes, and I'm drilling them out because you can't get all of the little chips and things out of them, so I'm drilling them out to be slightly bigger, and then I'm going to use those to reattach the legs to the sides. So let's hope it all comes out horizontal. It's January the 10th, 2020, and the Granny Kokkinn washstand is lying on its side so that you can see the absolute, well, sort of overkill, I suppose, of reinforcements on the top, and then the securing of the top onto the frame. So I've done that this morning with a bit of a neurosis because everything's pretty wobbly. You know, you can see what's happened to the wood. It's all pretty rotten and cracked, so it's sort of held together by other things, and I decided to secure it to the frame, irrespective of what it did to the leveling of the feet, and I'm going to just level the feet afterwards. They're not too far out. So I'll show you what else I've done. I've also secured the backing, the backboard, onto it, and waiting to get some tiles to fit there. And the backboard is secured quite well, I think, with these vertical slats that go down onto the backs of the legs there, so on either side. So that's fairly firm now. And the last thing is to fit on these are just little embellishments really on the sides of the thing here, like this. So these go there, something like that. And you can see this is the one I've repaired there. So the 2 of them, one on either side. And I'll have to put a fairly long screw in from the back to hold that in place. I think 1 screw will do it. They don't have to be, they're not structural, they're just decoration. So, and then the next thing is to get some pseudo handles on the front, the 2 of those. We hope to get some antiques. And then I need to seal it. I'm going to seal it with polyurethane. I know that's not really in the vein of restoration. You'd probably use shellac or something like that, but I'm going to use polyurethane clear just to retain this sort of color and to give it a really durable finish. It's the 11th of February and I am coating the Granny Kokkinn's washstand in polyurethane satin, so it's not going to be wet. The wood's gone quite a bit darker. This is a view of the washstand upside down, having its legs and its bottom painted. So next, wait for that to dry and then flip it over and do the top. 12th of February, and the Granny Kokkinn's washstand has had the 2nd coat on its bottom, and I've included a little biography of the washstand and Granny Kokkinn and my details of me. And although this might not end up in the hands of somebody who has any connection to our family, I still think it adds to the value of the item to understand where it came from, and so might actually help its preservation. It's certainly not a vanity. It's Thursday the 13th, and I've just been to the tiler. I had to cut the edges of these two tiles down a bit so that they would all fit in there. So I've put the tiles in, and I've taped them in with Gorilla Tape, so we won't have any accidents of the thing falling over and them all smashing on the ground. So the next is to cover them with a little backboard here. That'll go in over there. And then I'm done. So the next thing you see will be the finished product of Granny Kokkinn's washstand. Well, there it is, Granny Kokkinn's washstand, the finished article. I just finished it. It's Thursday the 13th of February 2020. The new tiles are in, and the handles have replaced where the old handles used to be, and the rest of it is pretty much restored, not renovated. So that's it.